Rarely seen without a V-neck. That was his thing. I think this is Sam, someone who hung out back then. And Sam's a great example of a person who didn't necessarily start out as a punk, but just started hanging out at Gilman Street and kind of became one by default, I guess. But yeah, then Tim, as you can see, Tim was very kind of fluffy and sweet back then. He's got a different vibe now. I like both vibes, but sometimes people are surprised to find out that Tim was sort of like the mascot at Gilman. You know, he was just like really huggable, and he's always so he was a sweet guy. Jake back there was a singer for a band called Phil. They were more of a British sort of crust punk style band, and Jake had a really piercing voice. You can listen to the band Phil if you ever. It's insane. Like he's got a great punk voice, but I mean this thing could break glass. And every single show without fail, he would heckle us. And he'd just be like, fuck you, ska boy, play some fucking punk, you suck. And, you know, I also, by the way, I lived with him. So it wasn't really hostile, but it was like, it was relentless. I mean, I kind of have to tip my hat to him for that. And then you got Billy Joe over there in the corner. Billy Joe went to a lot of our shows. And, you know, I remember when I met Billy, I met him, I think they were recording their demo at the time, if I'm not mistaken. And some of the memories get hazy, but I'm pretty sure they were recording their demo at Gilman Street, and he was telling me about how they couldn't get booked because they were considered too pop, you know what I mean? So finally they did get booked, and it turns out he did all right for himself. But yeah, at that time they were sort of on the outskirts, and a lot has been said about that, and I won't go too into it. But I always dug them from the beginning. Like, a part of me was really into this hardcore stuff, you know, and that was definitely a big influence, the intensity. But I also just always loved pop stuff. I loved the Buzzcocks. I think Billy was very influenced by the Minneapolis sound of like Husker Du, The Replacements, Soul Asylum, bands like that. And I dug all that stuff, so I thought he was cool. I thought Green Day was cool from the gate.